Hey there, and welcome to another edition of Hive Podcast, introducing you to the eXp Realty trailblazers and newsmakers that are aligning under one brokerage and creating a movement in the real estate industry. I'm your Hive host, Sam Rodriguez. What is all the buzz? All right. Hey, everybody, if you're watching out there on Facebook, thanks so much for joining me. This is actually a very first installment of a brand new podcast that I've created. I get to highlight many top eXp real estate agents, some of the newly affiliated and partnered eXp real estate agents. And this week, I'm proud to announce our first special guest here. So I'm going to bring in Daniel Beer. Let's see. I think I just let's see. Hey, Daniel, there you are. Hey, Daniel, how's it going? Whoop, are you muted?
There we go. There we go.
There you go. All right, awesome. Hey, how's it going today?
I'm good, dude. I'm good.
Good. I'm glad, so glad to have you join us here. This is actually my very first installment here of a whole new series. So thanks so much for taking the time and joining us today. So you're my inaugural guest. So thanks so much for taking the time.
Awesome.
So just a kind of a quick intro. Daniel, you've been a top producing agent out in San Diego, California. You're the CEO and owner of Beer Home Team. You're with eXp Realty, and you're also the founder of agentacademy.com. So we are, in addition to that, you have been named one of the top 150 teams numerous years, I think now in a row, by both the Wall Street Journal, Real Trends, and I think Res Media as well. So with that, I'm going to touch on a couple of highlighted numbers that I think we shared with the group in the announcement. But 2019, another banner year. I think I saw correctly, 303 closed transactions and 215 million in sales volume. Does that sound about right?
Those are our 2018 numbers.
Oh, 2018. Okay.
Yeah. But we had a really similar year in 2019, which to much extent was a win. Normally, we like to see a lot of growth. Our first year with eXp, we grew by 49 million in sales volume.
That's huge.
That's growth, right? Compared to only a 10 million growth our last year at the previous company. And last year, though, being a relatively flat year, we still had our second consecutive $200 million year. So it was a good year, but in many respects, it was a huge success because if you remember what was going on in the marketplace, everything completely stalled across the country. If you go back to November, December 2018, right, which are our January, February closing. So November, December, and then January of 19, everything was dead. And then, as you remember, the rates all of a sudden fell, the market sparked, but that really was felt across the country. So we've, in many respects, had like a 9 or 10 month year. And so we were still very pleased to hit those numbers given that fact.
Well, that's awesome. You've been a top producing agent for many years now. And it's funny, one of the topics I was hoping to chat about with you today is, kind of a natural progression. When you started out, what year did you start out in real estate?
2005.
2005. So, okay. So it's still kind of a hot market, right? I think getting ready to go into that dip. Natural progression. Everybody gets a real estate license. They become an individual agent. And then they either join a team, they build up so much production that they start a team, of which you did. So you've had a top performing team now for how many years?
So I actually did join a team, or at least what I felt was or thought was a team. My concept of what a team, and don't get me wrong, it was a great group of people, but that's what it more was a group of people versus a team. My concept of what a team is today is very different. The current iteration of the team, and I say that because most people that build a team, especially in an environment that we're all typically in, right? We're all doing it alone. Maybe you go to a conference, you go to a seminar, you pick up whatever you pick up and you bring your notes back to the office and you're just sort of building alone. And that's why it's really rare to find anybody who's ever built a team once and then boom, that thing took off and they never had to restructure it, never had to tear it down, never had to rebuild it. I was in that rebuilding, kind of doing it, on my own because everyone around me wasn't necessarily incentivized to watch me pass them up, right? So I basically went through that from 2010 through 2013, and about 2013 is when the current iteration of the team was born. and it's lasted, right? And of course it's changed. That doesn't suggest that there hasn't been change. So hopefully there always will be change, but we haven't had to break the thing down and say, hey, this thing doesn't work, let's start from scratch, right? So this team's been up since about late 13 and consistently growing.
Yeah, that's awesome. So when you talk about change, let's talk about that, because I think a few years ago, speaking of change, I think you were considering a change of your own, meaning going into ownership. And I think kind of that natural progression again, right? You got a top producing team. Where do you go next? What's the next step? And a lot of people think, well, I'm going to go open up my own company. I'll open up my independent. I'll go buy a franchise. That was kind of the mindset you were in a few years ago, right?
Yep, absolutely, I was. So that took a really quick and sudden turn. Do you want me to deep dive into that? You want me to tell you about what I was thinking?
Yeah.
I mean, look, well, you're exactly right. You get to this place where, okay, well, what's next? And so one of two things start happening. Either you start thinking you're going to build your own brokerage, which I have to say now is like, that's not a move I will ever make, and thank God I never did. It's something that I can't wrap my head around as far as how that can make possible sense for anybody. Unless, look, don't get me wrong. If you said to me, hey, Dan, you don't get it, man. I have a plan. I'm going to be at 200 agents in year 1, 500 in year 2, 1,000 in year 3, and I'm going to deal with horribly low margins. I'm going to deal with, you're moving around the screen.
I was trying to see if I'm hoping on Facebook that I'm showing correctly, and if not, I was trying to check to see if the group is actually seeing this or not. So my apologies.
Oh, they are. I could see that.
They are? Okay. All right. I'm gonna go back to the.
Bring me back. So, so basically, unless you tell me you have that plan to scale that fast, and then you're gonna deal with low margins, and you're gonna bring in the ancillary services, because otherwise you're literally going to run at a loss, and that's going to make up for the losses and hopefully bring in a little money. You're going to deal with that until one day you sell to Realogy or Berkshire or to whoever, and that's your exit plan for 3 or 5 years from now. And I'd be like, all right, fine. At least you know what you're getting into. But why anybody would ever be an independent broker when they're going to have 5 agents, 15 agents, 40 agents, 100 agents, I can't wrap my head around that, because there's literally no one you'll ever do a deal with that could give half of whatever, right? That you were that you brokered the deal. They could care less. So you're spending time, energy, and money, and shouldering a ton of liability on something that literally is a zero revenue activity. So trading time, energy, and liability for zero revenue is exactly the opposite of how any entrepreneur structures their business. It doesn't make any sense at all. Nevertheless, that's what a lot of people do. But that's an understandable mistake, because it's a remnant of the old thinking, the thinking that you had to be the broker to have a business. Well, come to my office and tell me that I'm not a business, right? I have my own payroll. In fact, my payroll protection plan right now with the government is submitted, and my application's in, because I have my own business, my own payroll, my own brand. Outside of eXp, right? The Beer Home Team, that's my brand, my people, my process, my CRM, my database, my phone numbers, the whole thing, it's mine. And so you can absolutely have your own company, and respectfully, Sam, what I've decided to do is say, hey, eXp, for the little bit that you charge me, why don't you just take on all that stuff that I could care less about, that's never going to make me any money, and I'll just actually build revenue. Now, I also tell this to people, look, it doesn't have to be eXp. It could be whatever, cheapshoparoundtheblock.com in your town. But why you'd ever take that on for zero revenue, I don't know. What I was about to do is buy a Keller Williams franchise. I was buying a market center. And that did seem like the most logical step. And a lot of the people I admire, I knew they owned them. And so, it's going down that path. But then I dive into the numbers and I start realizing, like, man, I'm about to write a 6-figure check to be geographically restricted to a corner of San Diego because, well, there's other franchises all over the county. So I can only do business here. I have to shoulder a 6-figure risk. I have to take on, by the way, I have to write checks if we're running at a loss, which the thing did run at a loss. And then I have to be in charge of turning this whole thing around to hopefully pull a profit someday. What I realized in looking at that model is I said, wait a second, the franchise owner, that actually might be the sucker in the whole game. Because if you look at who's making money, okay, above the franchise, there's the region. The region is on revenue share. As you sell homes, the region receives money. That's at any company, by the way. I'm not talking eXp language, saying revenue share. Literally, when I would sell homes at any other company, the regional owner would receive revenue. Yep. Right? Regardless of if I created a profit or not. So I'm like, they're receiving revenue. The regional owner is absolutely getting wealthy. And then there's the international company above them. Well, shit, instead of writing a 6-figure check for 40% of an unprofitable company that I have to turn around and then can only do business in this corner and pocket of San Diego, why don't I instead just simply become the regional owner without writing a 7 or 8-figure check for eXp, this company that everyone across the country is talking about? So why don't I just come in and basically take this company instead of buying it? And in fact, forget about just this franchise. Why don't I take the region? Why don't I take more territory? Now, I don't get to have exclusive rights, but I'm also not writing an 8-figure check. So I find that to be a pretty good trade. That's what I did, Sam. And that's what I did when I found producing operators that are creating great businesses, production focused, killing it in real estate, millions of dollars in commission income per year. The reason I mentioned that is I needed to be surrounded by people that have already faced all the business obstacles that I was going to face, so that I could get my questions answered in a way that wouldn't require me to stumble around the way I did from 2010 to 2013. So I could get to the answer faster.
Yeah. So why don't you explain a little bit then for those who don't, who maybe haven't even seen the eXp model yet, or maybe who have looked at this, because in this model, your production, as we talked about, your production actually hasn't faltered. You've actually increased production.
Oh yeah.
But at the same time, talk about partnering with other agents, because I think that was a big key. And even when you made your announcement, I think it was just over 2 years ago. I'll never forget that day either. When you made an announcement alongside Kyle Whistle, Mary Maloney, partnering. I mean, these guys were some of your competition, right?
Yeah.
What does that look like? And you want to touch a little bit about that? Why others would even want to do something like that?
Well, I'll tell you what it really looks like for me. And I'm just actually glancing over here. There you go. Oh no, we're good. We're good. On my page, it says it timed out, but on your page, we're live.
Okay.
So you just share this over to my page. That'd be great. Anyway, what did that look like? Well, here's what it looked like. Again, look, here's my view of the business in general. Okay. You can push your business to say 10 or so million. It depends on the price point, depends on the market, because some require more transactions than other, but let's just call it 10 million out of just sheer hard work, grit, and like being relatively intelligent. Okay. Just like showing up and pushing through. You can get to around 10 million. Then the game completely changes. It has nothing to do with can you sell a home or can you overcome the objection. It starts to do with people, with organizational structure, with compensation schemes, with the way that you're going to motivate and lead. It has to do with business much more so than with real estate. And when we bring those systems into our business, right, that's how you go from 10 million to 20, or from 20 to 40, from 40 to 80, or to 100, or to 200, right? And each of those have different issues that you have to work through, different obstacles. But it's clear to me that I only went from 10 to 20, or from there to 60, or where, right? And it was clear to me that I'd only gotten there through what I had learned from others. But it was also clear to me that I was only learning at like a cocktail party level, meaning, hey, we strike up a conversation, you share something with me, I say, awesome. I try to remember everything I can remember. I get back to the office, and then I invariably, of course, stumble through because there's all of the missing detail. How will I actually execute this thing that I learned from this person? Because this person, out of the kindness of their heart, and they were great people to share with me, or maybe it was someone who shared with me from a stage, very, and I love them for it, but they didn't wake up the next morning wondering if I had executed on it, because their life doesn't change if I grow. In fact, their life might get worse if I grow, because I might take their market share.
Right. We used to hear that all the time.
Precisely. So for me, it became really clear that, well, even with those downfalls, I still grew because of people. So hold on a second. If there are income and wealth building mechanisms built into this model that eXp Realty has, and the most important part is they have to have great people. Without great people, the model is just an interesting model, respectfully, right? Like without great people, eXp is just a good idea. That's about it. But once you introduce good people, now I said, okay, well, if I grew because of what I've learned from people and they had zero incentive to actually see me through with what I was taking from them, well, what if those people were financially incentivized to have me grow? In fact, what if when those people share with me, they weren't being nice, they were actually being selfish? Selfish because if I grew, they grew. Right. Will that type of sharing be more sustaining? And will it be deeper? Will it be more profound and detailed than cocktail party level sharing? And my guess was that it would be. My result in year one with eXp versus my last year at the previous company, 10 million in growth. First year at eXp, 49 million in growth. Wow. And people say, well, why? Why did that happen at eXp? I'm like, look, it's not because eXp brokered the deal any better than anybody else. I mean, brokering of the deal is just a commodity. But what they did is they understood human behavior. They understood how to make a guy like Kyle Whistle, who's in my own market, who I compete with on listings, how to make him literally give me the secret sauce to components of his business that I've wanted to replicate. They understood how to make a guy like Mark Z in Detroit, who's a killer, like, right, one of the best agents in the country, how to get him to give me his entire formula on mass media marketing that he's been using for years so that I could put it in play too. Like, they understood how to turn sharing into a selfish activity, which that might sound negative to you, but think about how awesome that is. Like, there's one thing guaranteed, and it's that I'm always going to care about me and my family. That's one thing guaranteed. Now, for me to care about me and my family, my partners that are with me across the country at eXp, I literally am taking care of my family by well, I just got off the phone with a guy today building out what it's going to look like for his first assistant, what that person's going to do. And I'm literally crafting the job description for him and sending it to him. Okay. Last week, and I won't disclose the name, one of our partners, Kyle, and I got on a full hour breakdown of this person's business because there's some restructuring that needs to be done. Okay. That's what eXp's figured out, how to motivate us to do that on an ongoing level, period. And when I saw that, Sam, it just clicked for me. I'm like, okay, my business is going to be taken care of. And then if I share everything in my business with people, that'll also become attractive, which will make people want to join us, which will introduce these other levels of income, which, especially in the world we're living in today, have been really a profound saving grace.
That's true. Lots of great points that you're making there. What you're explaining there is my favorite core value here at eXp, which is collaboration. And most companies, at some of the companies I've been at, there used to be agents who literally would cover their paperwork at the copy machine, right? It was fear. It was fear of, don't look at my information. This is my transaction. I don't want you to getting my client's information. I'm not going to open up to you and share with you how I sell 50 million, 10 million, 100 million. Because it was exactly that. There was no direct vested interest for them to do so. It didn't mean that they were bad people, but in this model, you're right. It's a reward for helping others, and in fact, it's one of my favorite statements has always been, help enough people get what they want, you're going to get what you want, and that's what this model has really created. And you touched on some of those other names like Mark Z, because your group, your organization, if you will, is not just San Diego based, right? So
correct.
When you talked earlier about a business without borders, or it's like, I've had somebody else ask me this one recently too, and they said, well, I like eXp, but I want the territory, I want that right. And I said, why would you want that, right? So talk a little bit more about limiting themselves to a geographic area, and why they would want to be able to tap into something larger in scale.
Yeah, it's interesting. When I came to eXp, I called Jason Guessing. I arranged a phone call with him, and then I had a high-level executive at a Fortune 500 company in the real estate space on the phone with me. who basically the point of doing this was I was going to get on the phone with Jason Guessing, who was the CEO of the company. And I was going to ask him, hey, what are you going to give me, right? How much money are you going to give me basically to come over? That was the conversation. And so I had this executive with me to just show my pool or whatever, right? And so his answer, once I got through my little sale, his answer was amazing. He said, well, Dan, if you are who you say you are, then, well, first of all, his answer was, no, excuse me. He said, well, we're not going to pay anything. And I said, well, what do you mean? Because like literally I could have gone to a dozen other places that would have written substantial checks. Yep. And so I said, well, what do you mean? And he said, well, if you are who you say you are, and it's already built into the financial model, and then some. You're going to have more than your fair share. And here's the thing, though. Here's the rub: is I knew he was right. So that argument ended really fast. So yeah, look, instead of either buying this market center and having one little franchise, or instead of writing a 7 or 8 figure check to have a region of a large company, which eXp is very quickly all turning into.
And maybe even adding to that, or collecting a sometimes 6-figure check to move to another company even.
Well, yeah, that's the shortest money you could ever find, because most people, I don't know why people don't do the math on those. When you're collecting a 6-figure check from some company to go there, and then you go on an uncapped like 90-10 split or whatever you're going on, you're literally giving the money back to them over the course of your contract. So that's just a matter of not doing math. But instead of doing all of that, right, when you're talking about wanting territory, because you're saying people come and say, hey, I'm interested in eXp, but I'd like to own the Southwest region or whatever. Well, instead of writing those checks, right, I have a part of the San Diego region, but I have a part of the Michigan region where I have hundreds of agents. I have part of the New Jersey region, part of the Phoenix region, part of the Vegas region, part of the Alaska region, part of the Raleigh region, because we've found great partners in all of these areas, and then the thing just grows. So all you really need is 1 or 2 people that can just blow up a market. It's a really significant thing if you're thinking ownership, right? If that's the mode you're in. So yeah, I would say I can't imagine what it would have cost to purchase what I've built, simply through providing value to people and through showing up and through being present.
So the point you made there too, what if you're not thinking ownership? What if you just want to keep selling a bunch of real estate? All
right, yeah. So which by the way is 99% of everybody, right? So and don't get me, like the Beer Home team, I don't know what COVID's going to do to it or not, right? We were hoping for our first $300 million year. And I just say that to suggest that we are very sales focused first. In fact, I believe that the majority of what we get on the rest of it is because we are focused on production. That's what people want. They want to know how to move their business from 20 sales to 40. Well, that's what I love sharing. Or from 40 to 100, whatever it might be. But what about most people? Well, let's go to let's go to the rawest form. Sam, let's talk about a brand new agent, because this is something that drives me nuts. People are like, well, eXp for brand new agents, I don't know, because it's virtual. First of all, everyone's getting a feel for virtual right now, aren't they? And we're finding out that life goes on and it's okay. But go back to when you were a new agent. Are you telling me you would have grown faster getting your lessons from like the paid instructor that hasn't sold houses really, at least at any kind of significant level, in years or ever, at your local branch, showing up and going, hey, who here is going to help me? And there's just a bunch of busy people. Well, a bunch, right? In my experience, if there was 200 or 300 licenses, you might find 8 of them in the office. And that's not an exaggeration. You watching right now, you know that's exactly the way it goes. And then those people are taking care of their own life. And there are some people milling around wanting to talk, but guess what? Those are the people that don't sell houses, so they just want to bother me and talk about their weekend. And so you're going to tell me that a new agent's better served in that environment than surrounding themselves with dozens and dozens and dozens. I'll just talk about my particular world, right? Surrounding themselves with Kyle Whistle and with Mark Z and with Tina Call, who's just growing at an insane rate in Raleigh, and with Sharon Evans and with Marty Hampton, literally one of the best, most legendary agents in the country ever. With Stacey Wyatt, with Josh Lavick, with Jennifer Weiner. You're talking, she was one of the top female RE/MAX agents in the state of Arizona, on and on. Look, I don't want to bore you with naming 1,000 people. You're going to tell me that you're going to grow faster in that traditional model than surrounding yourself with these people whose lives literally get better if you turn into somebody? Okay, all we actually have is a coaching company where you get to get coached by all of us for free. Well, it's free to you. eXp pays us. eXp is literally going to pay us to have you produce. So how crazy is that? Where are you going to learn faster, Sam? It drives me nuts to see. And I understand it. They're trying to save their businesses, but the propaganda put out there, like, where will that new agent grow faster? The answer is clear. It's the same place I'm going to grow faster. You're just going to grow faster around the right people who care about you, not out of the goodness out of their heart, but because of the goodness of their heart, plus the fact their wallet will grow by caring about you.
Right.
You're going to grow faster than hoping that person over there at the branch, did they show up? Did they not? I don't know. Can I bother them? Can I pick your brain? Can I grab a coffee? You decide on them.
So you touched on it right there, because, eXp is a real estate brokerage first and foremost. I think the numbers prove it themselves, because here's one of the last things that we'll get close to wrapping up with, is that eXp is a recruiting company. Yet at the same time, 2019 numbers came in, and we were named the largest, or I don't say the largest, we were the top producing independent real estate brokerage by transactions, over 130,000 transactions in 2019. That doesn't sound like a recruiting only type company. There's a lot of production. And you named a lot of them. You named Jennifer Weiner and Tina Call and many others. There's big producers that have moved over to eXp over the past few years, and a ton that are still looking or making the move over right now as we speak. And I know you're involved in quite a few of those.
And this thing is a baby still. We got what is it? 27, 28,000 agents, 30,000.
Only 28,000.
28. It's a baby still.
Yeah,
it's a baby. Think about this too, Sam. Was sometimes people are like, well, is it too late? Look, take companies that are out there that have I think the biggest one out there right now has like 150,000. So first of all, just the fact that 150,000 is a much bigger number than 28. Now, in that 150, it's not a static 150. It's not like, hey, we got our 150 and we're done.
Right.
In that 150 is an insane amount of turnover. So to be at 150, there's also tons of, there's thousands of agents being added just to stay at 150. So the opportunity is only going to be limited by whatever, by your own mind.
So knowing that, and we're getting close to wrapping up here, Daniel, what advice do you give to agents? I think there's a couple different types of agent, and maybe the message is the same, maybe it's different. To people that are newer to the business, to people that are running top producing teams, and then because especially right now, like you mentioned, coronavirus, what that is doing to the world, not just to the real estate industry. What type of messaging would you give to those who are, maybe either to start considering taking a look at eXp, or if they've already been in discussion with an eXp agent? What would you share with them
regarding just where we are with the environment right now?
Kind of, yeah. As far as kind of like why would they want to take a look at eXp, and why should they take a deep look at it, especially right now because of coronavirus?
Look, on an operating basis, sure. Like the whole company's up and running, and there's literally a zero difference today versus a month ago for our company on an operational and corporate level, and where I access my broker and where I access accounting and everything that has to happen to run the business. So certainly that's the case. There's a lot of leaders out there with their head in the sand who have disappeared. A lot of people asking, well, where's my broker? Where is well, we have 5-6 training classes a day happening right now. And it just wraps back to, Sam, like the answer, which we just continue to give over and over. It's the same answer. Why you'd want to look at it is really, I wouldn't even be asking what brokerage am I supposed to be at? That's not even the right question in my mind. It's what environment should I be in where I can pull myself around people who are going to be there for my growth, because they're literally like, when I grow, they grow, which will ensure permanent growth. Now, don't get me wrong, you can't just join eXp and grow. Like, you have to show up and implement what you're learning and dive in and plug in and the whole thing. That's the same answer anywhere, right?
Yep.
So that's the reason why. Okay, we could all go anywhere. Why did I bypass large checks to come here? Because I was interested in my company growing from what it was at to where I wanted to be on a sales level. I am interested never in what's the cheapest. By the way, we happen to be very inexpensive, like really inexpensive. It's more inexpensive than what I used to have. Having said that, that's like the weakest answer. It's the least important reason to come to eXp is to save $5,000 or pay $5,000. That's the small money. And you know what? Like, there are people that are chasing the small money, and that's okay too. Like, we know we're not going to get 100% of the marketplace.
Right.
Okay. So fine. But for the rest of us that don't want to behave like FSBOs, and what I mean is there's a lot of agents out there super excited to save, wow, I'm saving $10,000. And so I'm at like this little shop where I'm literally surrounded by not anyone that's doing anything that I hope to do, but hey, I'm saving 10 grand a year. They don't realize they're losing 100 grand, right? They don't lose, they could be losing way more.
This is one of my favorite points. You made this point on Facebook about 2 months or so ago, and I love that, because that's the same mindset.
FSBOs are super excited that they're saving 1 or 2%, not realizing they're losing 10, right?
Yep.
So if you want to grow your bottom line in a more predictable manner, faster, then get yourself to a place where people want to do that. I can't identify anywhere where that's happening on a more powerful basis than right here. And that's not lip service. Come in and see what we're doing. Come to our masterminds, come to our trainings, come to what we're doing on at a corporate level, and then at a group level. And there's a lot of good people and a lot of good groups. And so you just have to find the one that's going to resonate with you.
That's great. So that actually leads us really kind of that call of action is to just come take a look, right? Is all we're doing is we're being great inviters, or the intention is to invite. And right now we've even opened up our eXp World, our cloud office, and we've extended giving everybody a 60-day pass into come and check out our eXp World, where they can come in and maybe it's a class taught by you. Maybe it's top every single Friday. In fact, we have 3 icon agents, top producing agents, that actually share and open up and share with all the agents. So I think that's a great point. The last thing I think, and we would definitely wrap with this one, is kind of like what eXp has done to help agents in their personal lives, aside from the production piece, because our intention is obviously to help them grow, sell their property, make more money. But it's the changing lives aspect of it. And I saw your post, and I saw an agent out in North Carolina post about even just things like healthcare, agent healthcare. It's I don't remember exactly the dollar amount, but it's saving you and your family quite a bit on your annual.
Dude, well, I sorry to interrupt you, but it's insane. So one of my guys on my team, dear friend as well, I don't know how to even provide them this value on my own. Their healthcare for their family went from $1,600 a month to $700 a month for equal coverage. So that is extremely significant. And these are the things, Sam, I'm so jazzed up on all of the collaboration and like the sales stuff and the sales ideas and the way, like, look, our whole virtual, a lot of what we're doing on our virtual showing basis now, what I've learned from the group, which is now implemented. That's the stuff I get so jazzed up on. I forget to even mention this stuff, but it's significant.
It is significant. And I'll let you guys know, recently you guys just did a really cool virtual all-day mastermind. I'll let you talk about that part, and then we'll wrap up for today. But Be Different Mastermind. You want to talk about that for a second?
Well, that's a brokerage agnostic group. So we have like 84 or 8,300 agents, all different brokerages across the country. We're bringing insane content. Actually, we had a day-long event. There were people who presented from various brokerages. A number of them were people that I'm friends with and close to that are part of eXp. And go look at the comments. I mean, you have to join the group. So just search Be Different Mastermind. It's a group. Just request to join. We'll get you in there within the day or so. And hit where it says announcements. You'll see the replays and you'll see the comments. Most important, there's over 3,000 comments, and literally people calling it the best day of their life real estate wise. Like it was crazy. And that's just the start. We're going to continue to bring more and more and more content. We have 2 different live trainings that are going to happen in there this week. One being held by an agent. I don't even know what brokerage he's at, but he's not with eXp. And then one being held by me. So it's a great group to join.
That's awesome. Well, Daniel, this has been great. Thank you so much for opening up and sharing a little bit about, the why behind this, because we eXp has been a lot of the talk or all the buzz, right? And again, for those of you, if you haven't even checked out eXp yet, do so. Reach out to, if there's been an agent who's been calling you and wanting to just have a conversation, just be open-minded about hearing out an opportunity. If there's one thing I've regretted in my 20-year career, it's that early on I said no to a lot of opportunities when I didn't know what I was even saying no to. And so shame on me, hindsight 2020, but now we get the chance to actually do that. You owe it to yourself, you owe it to your business and to your families. Daniel, thanks so much for taking time and sharing that wisdom here with us today. And again, appreciate you opening up. And with that, guys, we're gonna be signing off. Daniel, again, it was awesome. And any departing words?
Just get out there and connect with people right now. Look, life looks different. We're all in it's a shitty situation. Okay, it just is. So we're gonna have to just face the fact that that's the truth, and now go and do something with it. There are so many people. Don't be one of the people that are going to give up on everything you've been building. Okay, so I don't know if this is the good news or the bad news, depending on which side of that you plan on being on. For me, it's good news that so many others will do that. I would encourage you to go invest heavily in the relationships that are there, the people that are spending time or have time to answer the phone who may not typically. Go and just check in with people on a personal level, see how they're feeling, see how they're doing. By the way, they might often bring up the marketplace. If they don't, then don't bring it up yourself. Just connect with people, because everyone's in a highly stressed out state right now. And when people are in a stressed out, highly emotional state, we're also better at remembering who made us feel good in that state. Okay. So you have the opportunity to take, share in their heart and in their mind at a much more penetrating level than what would typically be available on any normal Monday. So make the investment and be one of the people whose business is going to double or triple on the other side of this versus the many who you'll just never hear from again. And that's the game. Look, Sam, last thing here. A lot of people have been making money for years, man. Okay. Any knucklehead out there has been making money for years. Like, it's not been that hard. Now's the game. Like, now this is the game. And if you are who you, just like Jason Gessing said to me, if you are who you say you are, go do it right now. This is the test, and there's going to be insane rewards on the other side. So if you want to go on that ride and you want guidance, I'm here for you. So please, you can feel free to reach out, send me a message.
Awesome. Thanks, Daniel. For those of you, again, since this was our very first episode, we're going to be doing some of these on a twice weekly basis. So if you like, soon I'll be dropping a link in here to share a new YouTube link where you can subscribe to these videos. We'll keep coming to you live from Facebook as well. But we'll keep a video library available to all of you if you're interested. If you like the content today. Again, Daniel, thanks again for taking your time and sharing with us today, and wishing everybody a great rest of your Monday. Make it a great one. Thanks.
Thank you always for being there for us too.
My pleasure. Have a great day, everybody. And that is a wrap on another episode of Hive Podcast. Thanks for tuning in, and give this episode a thumbs up if you like what you heard, and remember to subscribe for future episodes. You can also catch some highlights and other eXp news and industry buzz on our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram accounts.